Alright guys, welcome to this second part of this unit, Market Failure and the Role of Government. In this video we're going to talk about externalities. So, we're actually going to learn something kind of odd. The optimal amount of pollution. Let's see if we can try and do it. Alright, so we have this heading, the economics of pollution, and we're going to have two things. We're going to consider both a cost and a benefit to pollution, which I know is kind of a radical idea because typically we think of pollution as being bad, and obviously the pollution itself is bad and harmful, but there are benefits that we do receive from that pollution. So we're going to compare two things here, the marginal social cost of pollution and comparing that with the marginal social benefit of pollution. So the first one, the marginal social cost, is the additional cost, again because we're talking about at the margin, imposed on society as a whole by an additional unit of pollution. Then we're going to consider the marginal social benefit of pollution, which is the additional gain to society. So what's being produced as a result of that additional unit of pollution. So there are both costs and benefits, and perhaps if your marginal analysis tools have been sharpened properly, hopefully we can see where this is going. What do you think the optimal quantity of pollution is going to be? Well, that's right. The socially optimal quantity of pollution is going to be that which society, that's not the definition I thought I was going to say. Darn it, I really thought on this slide I was going to say where marginal social cost equals the marginal social benefit, which is correct, by the way, but so is what I have written here. All right, so it says the quantity of pollution that society would choose if all the costs and benefits of pollution were fully accounted for. All right, there's actually a lot going on in these couple of definitions that have been introduced. So first of all, we're introducing all of society to these choices. Marginal social cost and marginal social benefit. We're not looking at just the private benefit anymore, because up until this point, we've assumed that if two people, marginal cost is less than or equal to the marginal benefit, that thing should be done, that behavior should be engaged in, that trade should be made. But what we haven't considered is, well, are other people affected by this action or by this transaction or by this production? And so now when we're looking at social benefits and social costs, we're including the rest of society, because obviously if we have some pollution, there's a cost to that, to the person making the pollution, and then we have a benefit of what they make, and so somebody gains, they get the product, that's the marginal private benefit. But there's also this disgusting pollution that's ruining the environment and destroying, different habitats or ruining lakes and water and all sorts of things, air quality. And if we just leave it to the two people involved, they aren't going to consider those costs because they don't really bear those costs. Society as a whole does. So we're going to kind of have that as the backdrop for the rest of this video, where we're now thinking about society as a whole, the costs and benefits that we incur and gain from pollution. So, I kind of just described this. We have something known as an external cost, and so pollution is a great example of something with an external cost. It's an uncompensated cost that an individual or firm imposes on others. So they produce their cars or they produce whatever it is that they're making, and then it lets pollution out into the air. In this disgusting picture you have pipe that's letting waste out into water, and other people besides the firm and besides the buyer of the product, other people are being negatively impacted, and so they're bearing a cost in the form of this dirty water and how that might affect them, perhaps with sickness, perhaps with worse health, or perhaps with just dirty water that they can't use as efficiently, whatever the case is. But this is an external cost. It's a cost that is bore by somebody besides the individual and the firms making the decisions. There are also things known as external benefits. So this is a benefit that an individual or firm imposes on others without receiving compensation. So if you get a flu shot or if you get your vaccines before you go to school, there's external benefits to other people, because since you are less likely to get sick because you've been vaccinated, they are also less likely to get sick as well, even though they may not have gotten the shot themselves, but they are benefiting because you did. So that's something else. So we want to look at both how these external costs and benefits how economists can look at those and try to encourage behaviors that have external benefits, and how they can discourage behaviors that pose external costs. The broader term is externalities, and that's the term we're going to use a lot in this unit, and it's the term the AP test loves. So externalities are both external costs and benefits. So you see that word external in there in that term. So we have something called negative externalities and then positive externalities. Negative externalities are ones that impose external costs, like this guy that is puffing away his cigarette with his baby right there. That is an external cost that he is forcing that child to endure. So that is a negative externality. On the other hand, a positive externality, something that, like that flu shot or vaccination, that provides external benefits to people who aren't paying for those benefits, yet they gain by the actions of others. So this is kind of just the very beginning of this. We're going to set up in the next and the future videos, but keep this idea of externalities in mind. It's going to be pretty much the big idea for the rest of this unit. This has been a LaMoney production.